Windows 8.1 and Red Hat. And the third one we will do way later on when I show you the virtualization process, the one that I talked about where you get 95% native performance with Xen. I do not want to get into that with you now, primarily because I wish to go over the graphical user interface of Linux, Red Hat, and I wish to introduce you to the Linux command line and a few other things before we actually get into that, because that is a bit complicated and there are a lot of new stuff there, so I'm just afraid that a lot of people won't be able to follow it through. So for the time being, let's stick to the basics and we will later on move on to the more advanced stuff. Anyway, I'm just going to go ahead and minimize this machine. So this is my Windows 8.1 machine. Let me just go ahead and boot it up. And yep, there we go. So it is booting, no problems, hopefully. Yep, there we go. I thought I forgot a CD inside or something of a kind, but no, indeed, Windows 8.1 should boot up. I don't know, the boot process for Windows are fairly slow from what I've seen, but doesn't really matter. I'm gonna try assigning more resources to this machine because I'm gonna, let's see it. Oh, I didn't actually do this the proper way. See advanced, continue. You shouldn't actually see this, but anyway, I seem to have been messing around with the machine a little bit, so to say, and it's offering me to actually perform a repair, but I don't really need a repair. It's going to boot up no problems now. Anyway, I am doing the demonstration in VirtualBox, of course, in a virtualized environment, but the procedure is exactly the same with the real machines. Although there is a downside to this. For this particular method, you will require 2 hard drives, and this is basically a foolproof method that will work on pretty much any device out there, as opposed to some other methods where you do it in a single drive and then encounter a ton load of problems, because I've seen so many people complain on so many forums out there how Windows 8.1 doesn't play well with other operating systems at all. So I've decided against showing you other methods, primarily because a lot of problems were experienced by a lot of people using those methods. So I just figured I would show you the foolproof one, the one that is safe, the one that leaves you with the lowest chance of messing anything up. Anyway, so this is my Windows 8.1 machine. It is up and running. So this would be an equivalent of your physical machine. And I'm just gonna go ahead and power it off for the time being because I don't really need it or want it at the time. I wish to install another one. As before, so just shut it down, and as before, you will of course need an ISO file of the operating system, which you will burn to a CD. Once you have burned it to a CD, just insert the CD into your machine and boot from it. Here's how you do it. So on a VirtualBox, I'll of course use virtual things in a virtualized environment. But basically, you see this, where the one that I've selected now, it says controller IDE, it says here empty. Now if I just select, where is it? There we go. If I just select it, it's an equivalent of you inserting a CD. When I selected this ISO file, it's an equivalent of you inserting a CD, an installation CD, into your machine and running the installation from there. Anyway, I'm just gonna click here OK, and your systems should be configured by default to boot from a CD, so you don't have to worry about that. If they are not, it's going to be written in the bottom right corner. Anyway, it's gonna be written there anyway, like press F12 or Del or F2 or something of a kind to get the boot configuration or boot setup running. And once you actually press one of those buttons, it gives you an option like, would you like to boot from a CD? Would you like to boot from a hard drive, from a USB, or from network? Just use up and down arrow keys to select the one that you want and press enter. That is literally all you need to do. I, in the virtualized environment, actually needed to do what I just did. Now, there is another thing that I will do here that you do not need to do in the real world. You see, I have actually created a virtual hard drive, another one. So you do need 2 hard drives. See, one I have named Windows 8.1 VD.VD, and another one is Red Hat.VDI. Anyway, if you are doing this by any chance, if you're curious, or if you want to do this in the VirtualBox, you just press add. Sorry, not an add. Add a CD or DVD device. Add a hard drive. There we go. And then you can say create a new disk or choose an existing disk. If you say create a new disk, it takes you through this process. You just basically click next, allot the size, change the name, and click create. That is literally all, and it will create it and we'll create one just like this one if you named it so as well. Anyway, not that important at all for you because you'll be running this on a physical machine. This is a process for a physical machine, so dual booting Windows 8.1 and Red Hat on 2 hard drives. Anyway, just go ahead and power on the machine now that you have the CD has been previously inserted before the restart. And there we go. We're immediately prompted for an option to actually install Red Hat Enterprise. We can just go ahead and select it. That's the first option, not the default one though, because it first offers a testing of a media. You can run the test if you want as well, but I don't think that there is that much of a need. The burning software today is relatively good and performs a lot of checkups itself. And the installation process is en route. I'm not gonna go through it in great detail as I have shown it to you already before, but there is one segment which I do wish to show you and which I do wish to explain further, so to say. That would be the partitioning That would be the partitioning. There, it is okay to select an automatic partitioning scheme if you are using a single operating system or if you're just installing it onto an empty drive in a virtualized environment, something of a kind. It can be a quick workaround. But what you really want to do is be able to partition it yourself during the installation procedure as well. That can be very, very nice, primarily because you can do whatever you want with it. You can create a scheme that will suit your needs, that will benefit you, that you have deemed appropriate to yourself. Now we have one disk here. It says ATA VBox hard disk. This is where the Windows is located physically. You can see it says only 3000 kilobytes of free space. Right next to it, I have a hard disk. It says almost 100. What? Oh, okay. This is I've already ran an installation on this, but you can see it says here SDA and SDB, and then you have the amount of space that is free on it. Anyway, they're both 100 gigs. I'm sure that on your machine they won't be exactly 100 gigs each one of them. Make sure to first figure out which disk you want to use. So if your Windows is installed on one disk, don't install it there, install it on another disk. I'm not talking about partitions here, I'm talking about two separate hard drives that are within your machine. So just go ahead and select the one that you have chosen. It's not empty, there's something on it, I don't know. Some things that I have previously installed, but doesn't really matter. I'm just going to go ahead and select it. Please be very careful also when doing this, because if you format the drive, you're going to lose information. You're going to lose data. You're not going to be able to recover it to the fullest of extents. Some of it you will be able to retrieve, but this is not Windows partitioning or something like that. Once you delete things with Linux, it's rather difficult to restore them. Even when I delete something in my terminal with an rm command, it's gone. You just learn to live with it. Anyway, so as I said once again, I can't emphasize this enough. Please select the proper hard disk. If you have problems selecting the proper hard drive, feel free to post it in the discussions. I will be more than happy to help you out with it, but please do not just randomly click on stuff and lose your data. Anyway, to select the drive, all you need to do is click on it, and this mark appears. You see this one, it appears now, and then when I click on it, it disappears. Excellent. So I have selected the second drive, and I want to select I will configure partitioning, that option. Excellent. So now we click on done, and we're going to be thrown here where we're given an opportunity to actually set it up ourselves. So I already have this, and oh, I have already installed Red Hat here previously, so let's just go ahead and delete it all, since I'm not